folks, how are you doing? I hope you're all doing very, very well indeed, and a warm welcome back to What's for Tea, or if you're new, a warm welcome to you also. Today I'm just popping on to show you how I'm making these traditional Scottish fern cakes. If you've never heard of these before, because a lot of people haven't, you know, and it's surprising how many people in Scotland haven't heard of fern cakes, given that they're so traditional and available everywhere. But anyway, if you've not heard of them, they're very similar to a cherry Bakewell tart, but instead of using, you know, cherry jam, we're going to be using strawberry jam, or you could use raspberry jam if you prefer. And it's a lovely, sweet, sort of short crust pastry case filled with a layer of jam, and then a layer of almond frangipani, and then topped with a layer of lovely icing with a wee bit of chocolate decoration on top. So as usual, I've listed all the ingredients in the description box down below, and this is what I'm using today if you want to follow along with this wee recipe. First of all, I've got 2 medium eggs. I've got 170 grams of caster sugar, but you could use ordinary sugar if you like. That's about 3/4 of a cup or 6 ounces. I've got 85 grams of icing sugar, also known as confectioner sugar, which is about 2/3 of a cup or 3 ounces. I've got 170 grams of ground almonds, which is about 3/4 of a cup or 6 ounces. I've got 227 grams of plain all-purpose flour, which is about 2 cups or 8 ounces. I've got 115 grams of cold butter. That's around 1 stick or 4 ounces. I've got 170 grams of room temperature butter. That's about 3/4 of a cup or 6 ounces. You're also going to need some strawberry jam or cherry jam or raspberry jam, whatever you're deciding to use. You'll also need around about a tablespoon of sugar for your cases, just to make it a bit sweeter. You'll also need a little ice cold water and a couple of teaspoons of almond extract. So that's it. So let's move on and we'll see what's next. Like I said, you will need 3 to 5 tablespoons of ice cold water. This is just to bring your pastry dough together. And you'll also need 1 to 2 teaspoons of almond extract. And this is the jam that I'm using today. I'm using Scottish strawberry jam. You're also going to need either a toothpick or a skewer. And that's just for creating the design at the end. And a skewer is also really handy for getting your cakes out the tin at the end as well. And a wee pinch of salt. You can use whatever salt you like. This is just the salt that we like to use. And you're also going to need quite a deep cake tin for your cakes. Now this is a muffin tray, and I think this works perfectly because you're going to need the depth, because you're going to have a layer of jam, you're going to have a layer of frangipani, and then your layer of icing on top. So you don't want to use a wee shallow tin like the one that I'm showing you in the bottom there. You really do need the depth. And don't worry about getting them out, because I will tell you how to get them out at the end. So the first thing you're going to do is make your pastry. So get your flour into the bowl along with a pinch of salt, and then your cold butter. And with your fingertips, you just want to work the butter into the flour. And when you're finished, you'll have a lovely golden breadcrumb sort of mixture. And this will take you quite a few minutes. And don't worry, it will come together, because at this stage when you start, you're thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to get this into a breadcrumb? But you do get there in the end. If you've got a food processor, you can do it in a food processor, and it'll only take you about 30 seconds. But this is it done by hand, and it took me about 4 minutes. And it's very satisfying seeing it all coming together, like, you know, when you're finished. But like I said, feel free to use a food processor if you have one. And then to this, you just want to add enough water just to bring it into a dough. You don't want this wet and you don't want it sticky. You just want it so that you can pick it up and mould it into a ball. So usually 3 to 5 tablespoons will do it. You'll know you've got the right texture. You know, if you can grab a wee handful and it holds a ball shape, then you know that you're there. Then you want to add in your sugar and just give this a wee stir in as well. Like I say, you don't want this overly wet or overly sticky. And you don't want to work it too much either, because you don't want to work the gluten in this, or you'll end up with quite a tough and hard pastry. So minimal working is required. Just tip out onto your surface, gently bring it together into a sort of ball shape that you can pick up, because we're going to put this into some cling film and let it rest in the fridge for about half an hour. Between 20 minutes and half an hour, just to let it rest. And once it comes out the fridge, you'll be able to roll it out quite easily. But like I said, quite important you don't overwork this at this stage. So that's fine. So get your cling film, wrap it round and bung it into the fridge between 20 and 30 minutes just to let it rest. Easy. So this was me half an hour later. I just got on with the hoovering whilst I was waiting. You want to lightly flour your surface and lightly flour your rolling pin and just roll it out. You want to roll it out to about 1 centimetre thick. And this will give you between 10 and 12 cakes. I actually got about 10 out of mine. And I just like to go around the pastry with a pastry cutter and then lift the discs off. Now you can either put these discs directly into your tin, but what I do is I actually roll it into a ball and press it into the tin. I just prefer doing that, but you can do it either way. So once you've got all your discs, you then want to grease your tin. Now you can use a cooking spray, or I'm just using some butter. This is just to help, make sure that your wee pies don't stick. And like I said, you can either go in and press this directly into your tin, or do what I'm doing and just roll it into a ball and press it in with your fingers. Like I said, I just prefer doing it this way. I think it gets the best contact with your tin and it makes it lovely and even. And just make sure when you're pressing your mixture in, you leave a wee kind of lip around the top, because that's going to keep your icing in on top of your cake, and instead it's spilling all over the tin. So this is fine for me. So now you want to partially bake this for 15 to 20 minutes just to get the raw edge off, and you'll have something that looks like this. And let it cool for a couple of minutes, and then you're going to pop your jam in. You don't want to overfill these, because remember, you've still got a layer of your frangipani to go on and then a layer of your icing. So 1 to 2 teaspoons will do it. And that's ideal. Now we're going to go and make our almond frangipani. So you want to grab yourself a pan, and on a medium heat, you want to melt your room temperature butter. And once it's melted, you can go ahead and turn the heat off and add in your sugar and just stir this round. So turn your heat off at this stage, because you're going to be adding eggs, so you don't want to scramble your eggs. Stir your sugar into your butter, and then you can add your ground almonds. Like I said, all these ingredients and their weights, guys, are in the description box down below, so don't worry about writing everything down. You can refer back to that later. So just stir in your almonds and then your almond extract. I've used a teaspoon, but you could of course use half a teaspoon if you don't want it quite as strong. I like the strong almond flavour. Then right at the end, you're going to pop in 2 beaten eggs. Just give that a good stir together as well. And it'll go quite thick at this stage because of the egg. This is just what you're looking for. Ideal. Now you want to go back over to your cases and just cover over your jam with that lovely frangipani. A couple of teaspoons will do it. Again, just make sure you leave room on the top for your icing, because bear in mind, when these go into the oven, they will puff up slightly, but they'll go back down again as they cool. You want to bake these for 15 to 20 minutes, and the temperatures are on the screen for you to see just now, because they will come out kind of domed on the top, just like this. But don't worry, you might be thinking, how is my icing going to stay in the top of these? But they do shrink back as they cool. So let these cool completely before you put your icing on, because you don't want your icing, you know, sliding all over the place. So yeah, like I said, don't worry, these will shrink back as they cool. So once they've cooled, you want to make your icing. So into a bowl, I've just put 85 grams of icing sugar, and I always use boiling water. I just think it works better. So just add enough water to bring it to a very thick consistency. You want it thick, but you still want to be able to, you know, pour it onto your cake. And then half a teaspoon of your, I was going to say vanilla, your almond extract, and just give that a wee stir through. So this is the sort of thickness you're looking for. It's running off the spoon, but it's still very thick. So the last thing you want to do is just top your cakes with that thick icing. Just right to the inner edge of the rim of your cake. Just like that. And if you've created a wee lip on the outside of your cake, it won't run off. It'll just stay there. And that's it. All you have to do now is let this set, and then you can go in and do your wee design on the top. You can either use what I'm using, which is melted chocolate, or you know, you can just put it into a wee Ziploc bag. If you don't have one of these pens, just, you know, snip the corner off and fill it up, you know, fill up your Ziploc bag with some melted chocolate. Or more traditionally, this would be done with food colouring, and just again with some runny icing. But I just think this works really well. You just want to drag your toothpick or your skewer from one end to the other, and you're going to get that signature Fern design on the top, and that's where, you know, the name of the cakes come from. Now, if you're worried about getting your cakes out of your muffin tin because they are quite deep, all I've done is I've gone down the side once they've completely cooled, before I take them out, you know, to put the wee design on the top. Go down the side of your cake with a very, very thin bamboo skewer. Give it a wee wiggle and your cakes will come out really easy. You can see on the side of the cakes there, some of them got a wee line or a wee notch. That's just where I've inserted the skewer. Just give it a wee wiggle and a wee bit, just kind of prise them out, and they'll come out no bother. So don't worry about that. I'm just going to cut one open to let you see, and I'm sorry about the lighting, I don't know what happened there. But you can see the layers there. You've got your layer of pastry, your layer of jam, your layer of frangipani, and then your layer of icing on the top. And these are absolutely wonderful with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Absolutely beautiful combination of flavours. That almond with the biscuit and the jam and the gooey icing on the top. Oh, match made in heaven, these flavours. They really are. I really like to have these kind of things with hot custard as well, as a kind of pudding at the end of a meal, which is brilliant as well. You can of course make these in a kind of, you know, in a flan shape, just the one big cake instead of the wee individual ones. But when I was requested to do this video, they'd specifically asked for the individual wee cakes, you know, the Fern cakes, plural rather than singular. So that's why I done the individual cake. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that wee video, guys, and it was what you were looking and hoping for. And let me know if you decide to make them yourself. They are quite easy to make, but they do take a wee bit of time because there are quite a few steps involved. You know, you've got to let the pastry rest and then partially bake it, get it out, make your frangipani, make your icing. But it's so worth it in the end, and so satisfying when you're cutting into that cake and you think, I done that myself. And it's just as nice as what you'd get from your local friendly baker as well. So thank you very much for popping over and checking out the wee recipe. And from our house in Scotland to yours, with lots of love, I hope to see you again. Bye for now. Bye now.